refers to investing like farming. Just imagine if you planted the seed into the ground, watered it. A week later, you came back and you went to dig it up, and you're like, look, there's nothing growing here. There's no plant, no nothing. This thing's a piece of trash. And yet a lot of people do that with investing. You might be thinking, well, I wouldn't do that, but people do. They look at their investment account every day. Is it growing? Is it growing? I don't see it growing, and they want to get out. But the Bible says investing is like farming. There's a time in everything where there's a season to harvest and there is a season to plant. This basil plant was producing a lot of food for the family, lots of herbs, and now it's just withering down. Is it a bad investment? Was it bad for me to spend time planting this plant? The answer is no. It had a season, and I used it during that season. Every year these plants start dying off, and I could say to myself, well, they're dead, and I could dig them up and throw them away. But every year they come back fuller and bigger. And that's a lot like investing. And sometimes it looks like it's time to give up. It's not going to produce anymore. And just when you think that time's over, spring comes and it bursts forth new life. When it comes to investments, we all have our plan, and then something comes in a way and kind of messes it up a little bit. But my illustration here is the Bible says, spread your assets. I almost said another word there. 7 or 8, because you don't know what disaster may come upon the land. And so here's a representation of 8 different types of investments. And this is investment never loses money over a 1-year period of time. This investment never loses money over a 2-year period of time. This investment never loses money over 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, 8. Now, it doesn't mean that you cannot lose value. What it means is that historically, it's never lost value over an 8-year period of time. And it's just like plants. It'd be like this plant would take only 1 year until it gets fully mature and blooms and gives you the fruit that you need. But this one takes 5 years, and this one takes 8 years. And so you spread your assets 7 or 8 because you don't know what disaster may come upon the land. And this egg, I wish I had a golden egg, represents the 1 year's worth of living expenses that you need to live off of. So 1 year passes by and you spend all this money up, and you need to fill that bucket back up, right? And so what we do is we look at the other investments, and this 5-year investment is up. It's gone up a lot, so much that we can sell out a part of it and put it back over here to replace that 1-year bucket. You're going to be living off of this money for this 1 year. And when we sell it off, it brings its value back down to where you started from. Remember, with investing, you never lose money unless you sell when it's down, or if you lose the investment. Where did I put that investment? Or it goes out of business. So don't lose your investment, and make sure that you're really investing in good quality investments that are very diversified. So these represent 8 different types of investments. And then the next year comes around, and this investment is doing phenomenal. So it goes up in value so much that it provides all the growth is equal to exactly what you need to live off of that year. And so you already spent down this 1-year bucket, and you need to fill it back up. And so you sell out a part of this investment, so it brings it back down to its original value, and then you move that money over here to fill up your 1-year bucket, your checking account. Because this checking account or savings account, it's got to last you for 1 year. The next year comes around, and all of these investments over here are down. What do? One of the reasons why you allocate it into 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, 6 year, 7 year, and 8 year periods of time is that if something did happen when the market drastically dropped, it may take 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, or 8 years to recover. And so while we're waiting for it to recover, you may end up having to spend this one. And then year 2 comes along and you have to spend that one. Year 3 comes along, you got to spend that down. Year 4 comes along, you got to spend that. Year 5 comes along, and your investments that have never lost money over a 5-year period of time, they come through for you in the 6-year period of time, in the 7-year period of time. And if you have money set aside in the 8-year period of time, then you go spending that money down. But the key is to always try to keep about 8 years worth of living expenses in those different categories. And so you can allocate more to the longer term when you know that when you have money that you could allocate that long. Because the problem with this 4-year term, it doesn't usually produce as much return as the investments that you have to hold for longer term. So usually you give up some interest in order to be able to get that sense of safety. And so that's why you want to have money allocated in 8 different categories, 8 different time periods of time. And you can allocate more to the longer period of time because, every year you're going to have different investment environments, and you got to be able to pull from these different investments to survive off this money for the rest of your life. And knowing that, all these investments may be down, something may have came in there and disrupted your investments, but that you've got 5 years covered. So it gives it 5 years for this investment over here to recover.